welcome back to the program. Former Austrian Chancellor Sebastian Kurz is set to reclaim his position after snap elections last weekend, but his work is only just beginning. The 33-year-old conservative leader will now need to find a coalition partner to form a stable government, and he did not rule out anything just yet. His options include getting aboard with the resurging Greens or allying himself with the far-right Freedom Party again, whose former leader was involved in the corruption scandal that led to the collapse of the previous government. All right, with us here in the studio to discuss this, we still have Darren McCaffrey, our political editor. He has been covering the elections in Vienna. Also joining us is Sarah Wiener, an Austrian MEP with the Greens EFA group. And still with us, Lucas Mandl, an Austrian MEP with the European People's Party. Right, Darren, so you just got back, in fact, from Vienna.
Just off the plane, fresh off the plane.
Yeah, so what was it like there? What was the mood like, the analysis of what was going on there?
Well, I mean, Sebastian Kurz obviously did very well in terms of increasing his percentage share of the vote. And you would have thought that he didn't do well enough that he can govern on his own. He does need a coalition partner. But having increased that vote, you would have thought he would have leverage in these negotiations, whether it is with the Freedom Party or the Greens or anyone else. But actually, he's somewhat boxed in with options, but none of them are necessarily very good options. And I did speak to one political analyst, Thomas Hofer, and here's what he had to say about the options facing the returning Austrian Chancellor.
His options, you can call, the plague, the cholera, and Ebola in a way, because none of those options is really thrilling on his side. If he joins the Green Party, it would be an unstable thing. And there, issue-wise, are a lot of things where, the Greens are on the polar opposite of the People's Party.
All right, so one of the options is clearly with...
Which, the plague, the Ebola...
Which one is the Greens there? So with the Greens is one of the options. Strange bedfellows. There are some policies that clearly the two sides see very differently. And we saw what happened in Italy with coalitions that don't share all of the values. Where do you think this is headed with the Greens?
I think, so first of all, it was a milestone for the Green movement to get this election so well done, and we lost every seat 2 years before. Now we come stronger back than ever. It's our best result we ever had. And I think it shows that the society wants to have our green themes, and it's very, very important that the government see this in the same position that we see us. So I would say to go with the Green, it's not a risk.
The Greens work with him on social welfare policies, on environment policies, which clearly are different?
Yes, you point the things out who will be very, very difficult. But Kurz has to find a coalition partner, and that's the problem for him. So we don't go because of the power to be there in the government, because it's not our goal. Our goal is to have contents in the politics, and we will fight for it. And when he don't change immense in his values and in the way he wants to do and to see how to do politics, then we are not in.
Lucas, you are from the same party as Mr. Kurz. Which way do you think he should go?
First of all,
for a stable government, stable being the key word.
Absolutely, that's important. First of all, we are extremely grateful to the people who voted in this large favor of Sebastian Kurz, provided him with this wonderful majority. And actually, we need a stable government. We want Sebastian Kurz as our chancellor.
So what does that
That's
mean
what
in
the
terms of
people
coalition?
have decided. And it's a wonderful thing that what we have intended before the election, that we have different options. And now we have at least 4 options, even more than that. And that's a beautiful situation to start negotiations in order to,
so you give me a combination.
get done
Which one?
what has to be done.
So,
no, important is to stabilize the federal budget. Important is to meet the challenges of climate change. Important is to cut taxes.
Okay,
this is the reform agenda.
Who should he work with? That's the key question. Otherwise, there will be no government.
Sebastian Kurz has promised in advance to the election to talk to everybody.
Okay, but who should he go with?
And he fulfills his promise
I think you're not going to answer the
to talk to everybody.
No, he wants the right wing said they don't want to coalesce.
It's impossible to decide today.
But Kurz wants to have his a good image in the international landscape. So
Actually,
he don't
Sarah,
want to go with
you have not
the
yet
right
been
wing.
in the parliament when we had the Austrian presidency of European Union and Sebastian Kurz was heading it. And that time Commission's president, who is still our Commission's president, Jean-Claude Juncker, mentioned the Austrian presidency as one of the most successful one of all time.
Darren, maybe you add some context here. This is probably what's going on in Vienna.
I mean, he does advertisement, but the election is over. Now it's what we can do
Negotiations
for the
have
whole
to start, and that's
Austria,
why
what they
you
want.
can't demand from an election winner that he has to change his policy, even if he was elected for exactly this policy.
But also clearly the Green will go for the content, and they were voted.
I have already mentioned some contents. What are the issues the Green want to
we vote the Green for the content.
I think we're getting a taste of what negotiations will be like, Darren, very quickly.
Politics is about winning, but it's also about compromising.
Sure.
And clearly that's what both sides are going to have to do in the coming days and weeks. There is now talk that the Freedom Party is potentially on the verge of splitting. So deep are the divisions there, and the kind of ramifications of them losing 10 percentage points in this election. But the problem is Sebastian Kurz fought this election talking about wanting to move to the centre ground of politics, but in doing so actually pursued quite a populist agenda on some issues in order to get those Freedom Party votes. And that means that his policy platform is a long way away from this Green policy platform. Is it stable? I don't know.
That's a big question. I think that was the key word, indeed. That's what we're looking for. Is it going to be a stable government? OK, well, among those heading to the polls in Austria were 16-year-olds. It's the only European country which universally allows those under the age of 18 to vote. But it might not be alone for too long. Let's take a look. Be seen and not heard. So children used to be told. But those days now seem well and truly over. From France to Finland, Iceland to Italy, led by 16-year-old activist Greta Thunberg, children have been taking to the streets demanding action from their leaders on climate change. But for Greta and many of her followers, voting is beyond reach. In Italy, though, things could be about to change. Deputy Prime Minister Luigi Di Maio backing proposals to lower the voting age from 18. Giving the vote to 16-year-olds is a proposal that we have always been behind and which we support strongly, Mr. Di Maio wrote on Facebook. In Italy, young people are called choosy, spoilt, gretini, he added, referring to Greta Thunberg. As far as we are concerned, these people should be respected. If Rome presses ahead, Italy would become just the second European country to universally lower the voting age to 16. But with children demanding an ever greater say over their own futures, Italy perhaps won't be the last. I think interesting there, 16-year-olds, maybe climate change? I mean,
clearly if you're on a certain bit of the spectrum, the political spectrum, you might be in favour of 16-year-olds because they do tend to be more liberal, they do tend to be more left-leaning, they do tend to enjoy green issues. But hold on a second. I don't know why we want to go back to have 16-year-olds vote when actually in everything else we're getting older. Buying a house, people are getting older. They're getting married later.
Well, it is a 16-year-old that's changing opinion right now.
We as adults are becoming adults much later in life.
They are citizens, so they should
we're
have
doing
a right
everything
to
else
vote,
much later in life, getting married way later in life, and yet they want to bring forward the voting age. I'm not convinced. I don't know why.
Well, you're talking to two Austrians where they are convinced.
I even was already convinced when I was a school student and representative of the Austrian Federal Youth representation, and I see myself 20 years ago in these pictures we have seen from Italy, even when my party has not yet
Darren
been
is old. He's an old man.
But they shouldn't be interested in politics.
When you start in the early years to give them for politics, they will be fighting for the
we can have
and for the...
We've run out of time for this debate, but, you know, Darren, I say it again, he's an old man.
I'm not an old man.
OK, coming up on Raw Politics, the British MEP smashing political stereotypes. We talk to the Greens' Majid as part of our special In Profile series after the break.